Now, one of the things that I wanted to share with you during this talk is a profound secret that is always before us, and yet we spend very little attention to it. Now, how many people here probably want to be happy? Probably a ton. Probably everybody, right? I don't think anybody wanted to be miserable today. But I want to talk about the secret that Mandela found that's accessible to all of us. And first, a little aside about happiness. So, happiness, the secret I'm about to share with you is probably maybe too simple, and I'm not trying to, drum it up. It's not going to be super dramatic. I'm very sorry. That's why it remains a secret. I don't think it's dramatic enough. It's not going to be the stuff of movies. But it's important to first realize that happiness itself is a side effect of something else. Happiness occurs when we give ourselves as a gift to something greater: our family, our spouse, our country, to God. The greater the gift of oneself, the greater the happiness. Now, if we only can give what we have, what becomes imperative to increase the size of our gift and the size of our happiness? But we need to increase what I would call self-possession, or what many people would call discipline. The more discipline I have, the more self-control I have, the more I possess myself, the greater gift I can give to my spouse, my children, my job, my country, because I have control over that. You see this a lot of times with people. They struggle with addictions. When people are addicted, they have not been able to discipline themselves. In many ways, they've become slaves to food, slaves to alcohol, or to drugs, or to pornography, or to any number of things that are pleasurable, gambling. And so they can't say no to that stuff, or they struggle with it greatly. So they struggle in many ways to say yes to the people and the great loves of their life. So I'll give you an example personally. I have 5 little kids, and I love my kids, and they love me. And some days I work long days. When I come home, my kids want a piece of me. They haven't seen their dad all day. They miss me. They want me to play with them, read them a story. Now, when I come home from work, sometimes I'm exhausted. And I want to take a nap. The selfish part of me wants to go to bed. The selfish part of me wants to go sit out on my porch, have my coffee in silence. And there are some days where that's allowable and that should happen. But many times, my time with my children is not always accessible. So the selfish part of me kind of needs to die a little bit. Because if I do the things, if I go and take a nap, and I miss out on my kids, and my wife puts them down to sleep, or whatever, I'm going to feel horrible. I'm going to feel bad. So, what I want to do is I want to be there on the floor with my kids. I want to be there to read them a story. And to do that means that I have to perfect the ability to say no to myself. Say no to myself, my need, my selfish need to be, out there by myself drinking coffee or taking naps, or overindulging in anything, television or social media or whatnot. To say no to all that stuff so I can say yes to my kids. To say yes to what's in the moment, what's going on, what the moment needs from me. So by saying no to selfish desires, I give the gift of myself to my own children. And I have greater interior freedom. And that's a huge, important thing for me. And I'm fulfilled after I play some Legos or checkers. But getting started sometimes is not the easiest. It's not easy to sometimes let your spouse pick the movie. It's little things. For a good, I don't know, took me a very long time, I think, to realize that me and my wife used to go to Redbox and we would have movie nights at home, and I came to realizing my wife's a very patient woman, but after a number of occasions, I started to realize that all the movies I ever wanted to watch were all of my own interest. I really didn't, I really wasn't thinking about my wife the way I wanted to. I wasn't, you know, allowing her to choose the movie or, asking her. I kind of wanted to entertain myself instead of putting myself at her service. So, learning to die to ourselves in the smallest of ways in our relationship, getting up early, you know, just about everything in life takes discipline. Discipline is a requirement because the more I have self-control, the greater my ability to respond when anger shows up. If I don't have discipline, well, then I'm not going to be able to really handle that because I'm going to be convinced that I should be comfortable all the time and that I should get what I want. Okay? So start practicing saying no to yourself so you can say yes to life. That will give you greater access to happiness and strengthens your willpower. Now, for a minute, I want you to think about your spouse and the expectations that you have on them. Your wife or your husband. Just think about it. Now, this is a question that is hard to remember the answer to. But I'll give you the question. Now, look at your spouse, think of them, and answer this question in your mind. Who is responsible for your happiness? Now, you should already have an answer. I want you to think about your spouse now. Who is responsible for their happiness? That's right. I hope you came up with the same answer I did. You are. Now, discipline is what makes it possible for us to take responsibility for our own happiness and provide us with the self-control necessary, again, to listen effectively to our anger and to put it to use.